My daughter was born with silver poisoning in her blood, passed down from me, which made it hard for her to sense her wolf, and even harder for her to shift. I worked tirelessly, taking on every job I could, to earn enough money to find a cure for her. One night during a late shift, I saw her. My daughter, dressed like a princess in an elegant, silver-light woven gown, sat at a table in a high-end restaurant. With her was my mate, supposedly bedridden and paralyzed, wearing a tailored haute couture suit. Across the table sat the famous she-wolf of our pack, the daughter of a respected elder. They had ordered a lavish dinner, the bill totaling over $500,000. After the meal, I overheard my mate ask our daughter, "You remember how to tell the story, right?" She nodded and replied, "Yes. I'll tell Mom we were working as werewolf junk collectors all night, collecting waste paper crates, and in the end, we only earned enough to buy half a loaf of bread." My mate smiled, pleased with the answer. The she-wolf then gifted my daughter an entire collection of newly released moonstone jewelry. Before they left, my mate tipped each waitress $5,000. I stood frozen, tears falling as the truth shattered my heart. My mate, and even my beloved daughter, had been lying to me. Even in dormancy, my wolf mourned. A colleague saw me crying and asked what was wrong. I forced a smile and said, "I'm just happy. I got $5,000 tonight. It would have been even better if it hadn't come from my mate, the one who's supposed to be paralyzed and lying in bed." No one knew what I had sacrificed to be his mate. I waited for an apology, but it never came. So I made my decision. I called my father, the one who had been waiting all these years for me to return as his heir. When I disappeared from their lives, just as they had always secretly wished, that's when they finally began searching for me across the world. On my way home, I caught sight of Yates and Yelena riding in a luxurious car, headed down the avenue toward Alpha Villa Park. As the name suggests, that was where the Alpha resided. Disguised as a helper, I blended in and followed them, sneaking around the villa until I could crouch beneath a window and listen to their conversation. "Dad, how long do we have to pretend to be Omegas?" Yelena asked, her voice muffled but clear enough. "I can shift at will during the full moon, but I still have to lie to Mom. Tell her I can't sense my wolf or shift at all. I can't even come to this beautiful place every day. We don't even need to hide our scents. Mom's wolf is dormant. I'm tired of living this double life." Yates sighed, clearly moved by our daughter's words. "I don't want to do this either," he said. "But I have no choice. Your mother is stubborn. If she finds out that Lily and I are together, she'll cause chaos. We have to keep her as busy as possible, so she doesn't notice what's really going on." At the mention of Lily, Yelena brightened. "I like Aunt Lily. She's so pretty and she ranks high in our pack. She gives me gifts all the time." She paused, then added, "Not like my mom. She always wears ugly or ragged clothes. She can't even afford a little skirt for me." Then she turned to Yates and said sweetly, "Daddy, I wish I were Lily's daughter." But Yates didn't agree. Instead, he grew serious and warned her gently, "Yelena, don't say that again. Jasmine is your mother, and nothing can change that. She's the one who sucked the silver poison from my wounds. Her wolf regressed into full dormancy because of it. No matter what happens, I won't reject her as my mate." As they left the villa, I watched them change into the ugly, worn clothes I was used to seeing them wear. Even though I had witnessed the entire act, I still found it hard to believe what I had seen. When I had left our den at 4 a.m., Yelena had been sleeping, her face still pale from the poisoning she suffered since birth. Poison she inherited from me. I'd felt so guilty. Yates had been lying in bed, paralyzed, unable even to roll over without help. Yet while I was out working 5 different jobs and surviving on a loaf of bread a day, they were living in luxury, the highest standard of life in our pack. I dragged my feet on the way back. Just as I reached the front door, I heard the sound of someone jumping into bed. Inside, in the living room, Yelena sat reading a tattered book. She looked up at me with a sweet smile. "Mom, you're finally back. If only I were healthier, you wouldn't have to work so hard." Tonight, I collected waste paper crates with the landlord, as werewolf junk collectors. We earned enough for a loaf of bread. Dad and I shared it. Did you have dinner, Mommy? Tears of false guilt welled up in her eyes. If I hadn't seen the truth with my own eyes, I might have believed her. I might have said, "Don't blame yourself, sweetheart. Mom is happy to work for her little pup," and have gone on to cook her something warm and affordable. But all I could see was her in that princess dress and those shoes worth over $10,000. I mumbled, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I already ate. Keep reading, okay?" Then I walked into the bedroom where my supposedly paralyzed mate lay. Yates was lying in the exact same position I'd left him in that morning. But he had forgotten to put on the pair of worn socks I had mended 4 times. He greeted me gently. "Darling, you look pale. Is the work too tiring?" He sighed dramatically. "I feel so sorry. You should have a much happier life as my Luna. But I lost my alpha position when I became paralyzed. Now you're the one providing for us. I owe you so much." I stared at him. He was right about one thing. Only when I was too busy did I stop thinking. I had been sleeping just 3 hours a night, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Never stopping to question why a man who couldn't move hadn't developed bed sores or muscle atrophy, or why his skin was so smooth. The more I looked at him, the colder I felt inside. Yates grew nervous under my silence. "What happened? Did your boss scold you? Don't worry. I can borrow $500 from a friend, so you can rest for a few days." Still pretending. He thought $500 was enough to convince me he was a loving, supportive mate. Yet just days ago, he had spent $700,000 on dinner with Lily. That icy numbness spread through my chest and out into my limbs. I began to sweat. Yates reached out, intending to caress my face, but stopped halfway, remembering he was supposed to be paralyzed. His hand froze in midair. "Jasmine, are you okay? Are you sick?" I couldn't bear it any longer. I turned and walked to the bathroom. Passing through the living room, I saw Yelena quickly hide a brand new phone under a cushion. I closed the bathroom door and took out my old, outdated cell phone. Its buttons were so worn I had to type from memory. I typed a message. "Dear Daddy and Mommy, I know I was wrong. Please forgive me for not following your advice. I was too headstrong." As I waited for a reply, I looked at my reflection in the mirror. The she-wolf staring back at me had aged far beyond her years. 10 years had gone by, but it looked like 20. My skin was sallow, my face lined with fatigue, and strands of white ran through my hair. Who would believe this female wolf was once the only daughter of the Lycan king of Lupus Celestial? My phone buzzed. "You are forever our daughter, as long as you are willing to be." A rush of emotion swelled in my chest. Relief, sorrow, and a faint glimmer of hope. But before I returned to where I truly belonged, I had to uncover the rest of the lies they had been hiding from me. I quit all my jobs, but the next morning at 4 a.m., I still wore my usual work uniform. When Yates left the house, I followed him. He drove straight to the Alpha Bureau of Crimson Moon Pack, a proud member of Lupus Celestial, the strongest alliance in the werewolf world. Yes, my father Chase had built that alliance with his bare hands. He poured his life into it so it would be something worthy of respect. At the gate, Yates was greeted by the warriors with the formal Alpha's salute. He was still the Alpha. The blood in my veins turned to ice. 10 years ago, my father had opposed my bond with Yates, who then led the smallest pack in the alliance. He told me plainly, if I insisted on the bond, he would not pass the Lycan King's crown down to me, fearing I'd cause unrest in the packs. But I didn't care. I gave it all up to be Yates's Luna. I disguised myself as an orphaned Omega, a drifter within Crimson Moon's borders. When we bonded, all I had was the $100,000 I'd smuggled out. Yates said he'd use it to grow the pack. I gave it to him, no hesitation. He even renamed his pack, from Silver Moon to Crimson Moon, crimson like the blood I'd sucked from his poisoned wound to save his life. But that wound poisoned me too. The silver in his blood seeped into mine. My wolf, already in a half-dormant state because of my mother's silver injury while I was in the womb, fell into full dormancy. And when our daughter was born, the silver condition passed to her. But her case was worse. She couldn't sense her wolf at all. Yates never suspected I wasn't an Omega. My dormant wolf and my simple clothes made my story believable. Everything seemed fine the first year after our bonding. Then our daughter was born. He told me he had lost his position as alpha, that he had become paralyzed and was in debt to the new leader. I believed him, especially when he fell to his knees and cried, saying he had failed us. So I worked. I worked while he lay still in bed. I worked until my body broke. I worked so our daughter could be healed. I never once blamed him for losing his status. But it was a lie. He was still the alpha. And not only that, he had expanded the pack, made it stronger and richer with my money. And he hid all of it from me. My jaw clenched. My nails dug into my palms. Then someone shoved me from behind. Don't stand in the way, they snapped. I stumbled as a crowd of teenage wolves rushed forward. They were screaming, Lily, I love you. Over here, Lily. The Alpha's warriors formed a protective ring around her. Lily waved at her fans, smiling. She wore a long, flowing black silk dress, her makeup flawless. A reporter from Lupus Celestial News raised a microphone toward her. Miss Lily, there's gossip that you and Alpha Yates of Crimson Moon Pack are preparing for a bonding ceremony. Is it true? Lily smiled coyly. It's not decided yet. But you can look forward to something good. A young she-wolf shouted. Alpha Yates adores her. He gives her jewelry, luxury clothes, everything. Even gives her chances to be close to his daughter. Another added. It's so tragic his Luna died young, I couldn't stay quiet. Who told you Yates's Luna died? I demanded. They looked at me like I was insane. The Alpha himself. Don't you have a phone? Or watch TV? I didn't. I hadn't in years. Every cent went toward healing our daughter and keeping Yates alive. I stared at Lily as she walked into the building. Wearing my uniform, I passed through unnoticed, mistaken for one of the cleaning crew. Upstairs in the Grand Alpha's office, Lily was sitting on Yates's lap, gazing up at him with syrupy eyes. Alpha, she purred. Everyone downstairs is asking about our ceremony. Yates brushed his fingers through her hair. Lily, Jasmine is still my Luna. I owe her that much. Lily's expression darkened. But you told the press she died. I didn't want them to bother her, he said quietly. But what about me? She pouted. Don't you care if my life gets bothered? You act like it's me chasing you, Yates replied, smiling. They all think it's one-sided. He kissed her on the cheek. Let me make it up to you. Want the newest designer handbag? You're terrible, she giggled, pulling him into a kiss. I had seen enough. I burst into the room. So when exactly did I die, and no one told me? Yates turned pale, shoving Lily off his lap. Jasmine, it's not what you think. Let me explain. When I left our den, you were paralyzed in bed. And now you're the Alpha. I barked. Explain that. He stammered. Lily stepped forward sweetly. Luna, please. Let Yates explain. Luna? I scoffed. And since when is he your brother, Lily? Yates told me he was an only child. The staff nearby gathered outside the glass walls to eavesdrop. Yates was flustered. Jasmine, not here. Let's talk at home. This isn't a place you belong. Not a place I belong. The words hit harder than any slap. This office, this building, this pack. I had helped build it. Luna, Lily said again, reaching for my arm. You must be tired. Let me help you, ho. I pulled back, but she stumbled as if I'd shoved her. She fell against the wall and cried out. Ah, it hurts. Yates panicked and rushed to her side. He didn't even look at me as he snapped. How could you hurt Lily in front of everyone? She's not part of this, Jasmine. You've worked like a servant so long, you've forgotten basic manners. Then he added coldly, guards, escort her out. The guards grabbed me roughly. As I was dragged from the room, I looked back. Lily was curled in his arms, her tears glistening. Yates cradled her gently, protectively, just as he had once held me, 10 years ago. I had spent those 10 years drowning in work, too exhausted to notice him slipping away. Now he belonged to someone else. And I was no longer welcome in the world I helped him create. The guards shoved me out with such force that I hit the pavement. Hard, my palms scraping against the rough stone. As I tried to gather myself and stand, a sleek, black luxury car glided to a halt at the gate. My heart nearly stopped. The passenger door opened and my daughter stepped out. Yelena. She wore a delicate pink gown that trailed behind her like a whisper of innocence. Her hair was neatly curled, pinned with a glimmering pink crystal moonstone, one I knew cost more than our entire rent for the year. Her cheeks were flushed with excitement, and she looked like a little princess. A pang of confusion and dread twisted inside me. She was supposed to be at the healing center, too weak to even attend a werewolf academy. Yet here she was, walking without assistance, smiling brightly. She turned to the guard at the gate, who bowed in reverence. "Is Aunt Lily in my dad's office?" she asked sweetly. The guard smiled with unearned familiarity. "Yes, Miss Yelena. Miss Lily said she brought you the most fashionable dress in the pack. She's waiting for you upstairs." I stepped forward, grabbing Yelena by the wrist before she could disappear inside. "Yelena," I said, my voice tight. "Aren't you supposed to be in the healing center right now?" Her expression shifted instantly. Her cheeks paled, and her eyes filled with panic. "Mom," she whispered, trying to pull away. "Why are you here?" Before I could answer, she turned to the guards with sudden urgency. "Tell my dad to come down. Now." "There's no need," I said coldly. "I just came from his office. He's a little preoccupied with your Aunt Lily." The words were like stones in my throat. Then chaos erupted. A swarm of reporters, originally gathered to cover Lily's appearance, rushed toward us like a pack of ravenous wild animals, their cameras flashing, microphones shoved forward like weapons. "Miss Yelena," one of them called out. "Who is this she-wolf you're speaking to? Did you call her mom? Is she your real mother?" Alpha Yates told the press that his previous Luna had died. Is that false? Is there something being covered up? Yelena froze. She was only 9. Unprepared for the barrage of voices, the flashes, the chaos. And I realized too late. I had made a mistake by coming here. I had dragged her into a world she didn't understand. The crowd pushed in, forming a circle around us. Cameras captured every angle as the media whipped the story into a frenzy. "She must be the Luna," someone shouted. "Look how familiar they are. It's undeniable." No, another said. "Yates said his Luna died years ago. This must be a lie." I could feel Yelena trembling beneath my hand, her small body shuddering with fear. My wolf in dormancy tried to wake to shield her from this, but I was being shoved and tossed by the chaotic swarm. I tried to pull her closer. Then suddenly, she was yanked from my grasp. A hand reached through the press and took Yelena away. Reporters shifted their attention, turning away from me and following her, leaving me trampled in their wake. Stumbled to the ground, my knees burning from the scrape, my chest heaving from the adrenaline. Feet stepped on me like I was nothing more than a discarded rag. "Alpha Yates," someone shouted. "Is this she-wolf your Luna?" "Miss Lily," another voice cried. "Are you aware that you're just the mistress? Is this intentional? Are you trying to replace the Luna?" I forced myself to stand, wobbling slightly, and then I saw them. Yates and Lily, standing in the center of the crowd. Lily held my daughter in her arms, gently stroking her back as Yelena wept into her chest. It was a scene straight out of a carefully curated fairy tale. And Yates? He stood beside them like a proud king, his eyes locked on me, not with guilt or regret, but with cold detachment. His gaze was distant, frosty, unfamiliar. "This she-wolf," he said, motioning toward me with the ease of a practiced liar, "is just a helper. She's been with us since Yelena's birth. She cared for her, tended to her needs. They spent time together, which is likely why Yelena has grown attached." I felt the breath leave my lungs. The crowd gasped. "She's a helper? No wonder," someone sneered. "How could Alpha Yates have a Luna who looks so old and worn out?" "Exactly. Look at her clothes. She can't be a Luna. She probably tricked the child into calling her mom." Shameless she-wolf. Helpers shouldn't daydream about becoming Lunas. Look at yourself before you claim a title that's not yours. Their words stabbed deeper than knives. But I barely heard them. My eyes were locked on Yelena, still nestled in Lily's arms. I took a shaky step forward. "Yelena," I called, my voice raw. "Tell them. Tell them who I am. Tell them I'm your mother." She looked up, her face blotchy from tears, and for a moment, our eyes met. I hoped, prayed for truth, but she only clung tighter to Lily's waist and whispered, "You're not my mom." My real mom wouldn't be ashamed to me. I want Aunt Lily to be my mother. The cameras clicked rapidly, catching every expression, every tear, every betrayal. My knees buckled again, but this time I didn't fall. I had spent my life protecting them. I nearly lost my wolf saving Yates. I nearly lost my life giving birth to Yelena. And yet here I stood, abandoned by the very souls I had given everything to. I had thought, foolishly, that revealing the truth would bring justice, or at least remorse. But all it brought was betrayal without disguise. The crowd erupted in a fresh wave of gossip, shouting over one another. Reporters pushed microphones into my face, demanding a statement. I turned away. I couldn't take another second. I ran through the gates, down the steps, past the blinding flashes of light. I ran as if I could outrun the pain. 2 blocks away, my breath caught in my chest. My legs gave out, and everything went black. I woke up in the healing center with a throbbing ache in my chest, and an emptiness deeper than pain. Something wasn't right. A healer stood beside my bed, her expression grim. "Miss," she said gently, "your wolf is in critical condition. What's more, the silver poisoning in your blood was never properly treated." I stared at her, stunned. Those words hit harder than any physical wound. After a moment of silence, I laughed bitterly, quiet and hollowly. Back then, my parents had warned me not to bond with Yates, not just because of the turbulence his low status would bring, but because they saw how much I was willing to sacrifice for him. I had loved him more than I loved myself. My wolf had already fallen into a half-dormant state years ago. I had saved him, Yates, by taking in his wounds and the silver that poisoned him, at the cost of my own vitality. Every werewolf is born with the sacred duty of nurturing their wolf. I abandoned mine for him. Before I left my clan, I had been the most sought-after she-wolf of my generation. Alphas from every pack tried to claim me as their Luna. But after I gave it all up, my parents stopped speaking my name. I had become a forgotten disgrace. And in return, I was repaid with a life of lies. Lies that lasted over a decade. Lies meant to erase me. To replace me with a high-ranking she-wolf in a tiny, insignificant pack. By the time I returned to the tiny den I had called home, it was dusk. Yates and Yelena were already packing their things, their luggage lined neatly by the door. He held the report from the healing center in one hand. With a mocking smirk, he looked up. "Jasmine, I get it. You're upset we lied to you. But you can't keep using this silver poisoning excuse to guilt-trip me." I stared at him, disbelieving. "Excuse? You think I faked that medical report?" "Of course you did," he scoffed, folding the paper. "Too convenient, don't you think? If it were any other condition, maybe I'd believe you. But silver poisoning? Come on." Something inside me cracked. "You really think I would go this far to lie to you?" I snapped. "Did you forget? 11 years ago, I sucked that poison from your wounds when you were nearly killed in a pack conflict. You couldn't even shift, and I took it into myself to save your life." His eyes were empty. No recognition. No remorse. "I worked 5 jobs a day after you claimed to lose your alpha title," I said. "And now you tell me the poison has worn off." I shouted until my throat burned. But neither Yates nor Yelena looked at me with sympathy. Only annoyance. Yelena crossed her arms and huffed, tugging on the hem of her glittering pink dress. "You work 5 jobs, and you still can't afford even the thread of this dress," she muttered. "Aunt Lily is better. She gives me a new one every time we meet. My closet at the Alpha Villa is already full." Tears welled in my eyes, not from her words, but from the coldness in them. My daughter had once called me her moon. Now she barely looked at me. "So you agree with her, Yates?" I asked quietly. "You think I'm lying? That my pain isn't real?" He shrugged. "You've never studied medicine. If you were going to fake something, you should have picked a more believable condition." He turned away as if I weren't even worth the breath. Then with rehearsed nonchalance he added, "By the way, this place? This den? I own it. The buildings around here are too. The landlord you contacted? He's my beta. If you stop pretending, call him. He'll move you somewhere better. Maybe you can watch the sunrise and moonset. Whatever helps you feel special again." The door slammed behind them, leaving me in silence. I slumped to the floor, too numb to cry. My legs couldn't even hold me anymore. It was all a lie. Yates had never lost his position. Yelena had recovered a lot from silver poisoning. The den I had worked myself to the bone to afford belonged to Yates. But my suffering? That was real. My sacrifice? Real. The years I gave them? All real. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, heart hollow. At dawn I messaged my parents and packed my luggage. I left that fake den behind. But when I stepped outside, I found myself surrounded by a mob. Strangers. Dozens of them. They jeered at me, holding signs and throwing stones. Buckets of red paint splashed over my body. You think a helper can be Luna? What a joke. Alpha Yates belongs with Lily. You're ugly. Have you seen yourself? Beat her. She's delusional. Rocks sliced my skin. My arms, my forehead, bleeding and burning with pain. I stumbled back, trying to escape. My phone trembled in my hands as I called the only number I could. The landlord. Yates's beta. The line clicked. Help me, I cried. Tell Yates, please, there are mobs outside throwing stones. I'm bleeding. I heard voices on the other end. Yates. What the hell, Jasmine, he barked. You live in the middle of nowhere. How could a mob even find your place? Stop making things up. I'm not lying. I screamed. They said they're Lily's fans. They're doing this to support her. Then Lily's voice chimed in, sweet and sickening. Luna, I know you don't like me, but my fans are kind people. They'd never hurt you. Yates chuckled coldly. Lily was worried you might be harassed, so she posted on Instagram asking them not to bother you. This is how you repay her? With more lies. I'm not lying. I cried again. Another rock struck me, this time on the temple. Blood mixed with the red paint down my face. I stumbled. A memory flashed. Years ago, Yates had collapsed suddenly, paralyzed. I had carried him to the bathroom, my legs shaking under his weight. I had slipped and hit the desk corner, blood pouring down my face then too. And still, all he had done was lie there, pretending to be helpless. If he had truly loved me, would he have kept pretending? Would he be watching me bleed? And still do nothing? His voice returned, sharp and final. Don't contact me again. I gave you the title of Luna out of mercy. You saved my life. I paid my debt. We're even. Not far away, I saw a flash of movement. My parents. They were running toward me with warriors from Lupus. Celestial, their faces pale with horror. I gave a hollow laugh, voice cracking through the blood. Don't regret this, Yates. I don't, he said coldly. Another rock struck the back of my head. The pain was sharp, hot, and then nothing. I collapsed. The phone slipped from my hand. A thud echoed through the call. Yates's voice came faintly from the other side. What was that sound? Did someone fall? Yates heard the unmistakable sound of someone collapsing on the other end of the call. He stood up sharply, his brows furrowed in concern. What was that? He muttered, staring at the screen. The line had gone dead. He tried calling back, but the call didn't go through. My phone had shut off. His wolf stirred uneasily. Is something happening? He turned toward the door, ready to head to the den, but Lily stepped in front of him and gently took his arm. Don't worry, Brother Yates, she said with a soothing voice. She's probably just upset and threw her phone in anger. You know how Luna Jasmine is. Yates hesitated. Lily gave a light sigh, brushing her hair back from her face. She's always been so stubborn, she continued softly. She wants everything her way. But you're the alpha. You can't be expected to always follow her emotions. Give her time. She'll calm down eventually. Her tone was calm, sympathetic, almost motherly. Yates relaxed a little under her words. You're right, he said with a faint smile, wrapping his arm around her waist. Jasmine might still be my Lunaby title, but she's done nothing for this pack. It's because of you that Crimson Moon has grown into what it is today. A moment later, a pack safeguard entered, escorting Yelena into the room. She burst into tears the moment she saw Yates. It's all her fault. Yelena cried, stamping her feet. Everyone at the academy is laughing at me. How can a helper think she's good enough to be my mother? Lily hurried to her side, wiping her tears. Don't cry, darling. I'll take you shopping later. You can pick any dress you want, the latest ones from your beloved designers. Yelena's mood flipped instantly, laughter spilling from her lips as she eagerly began discussing new fashion trends with Lily, her voice bright and animated. Yates watched them with quiet contentment. Jasmine had once been like this, gentle, considerate, full of life and grace. A dozen years ago, she had shone brighter than any star, more stunning than even Lily. That was what had drawn Yates to her back then, what had made him propose the bond. But she had changed. Over the years she had become dull, too slow to keep up with his ambitions. She had lost her luster, her elegance. He saw her now as petty, small-minded, clinging to a past long gone. But Lily was always the same, soft-spoken, supportive, elegant. And she loved Yelena as her own. Yates glanced at her again and thought, bonding with Lily and making her Luna, maybe that's the better choice now. Just then there was a knock at the door. The beta stepped in with urgency. Alpha, the press is gathering outside. They're demanding a statement. Yates nodded calmly. Let them in. Within minutes, reporters flooded the office. Cameras flashed, microphones were raised. Yates, Lily, and Yelena settled on the plush couch, their posture perfect, smiles composed. Alpha Yates, one reporter asked. There's a trending story about your helper trying to claim the position of Luna. How are you addressing this? Yates smiled with polite detachment. The helper has already been dismissed. Gasps rippled through the reporters. Does that mean you found your new Luna? Another asked, eyes darting toward Lily. Though the question was indirect, everyone turned their attention to her. Lily looked down shyly and tucked a lock of hair behind her ear, playing to be modest. Before Yates could respond, Yelena leaned forward with enthusiasm. I've told Daddy so many times, I want Aunt Lily to be my mom. Laughter broke out among the reporters. All eyes turned back to Yates, waiting for confirmation. He smiled broadly, warmth in his gaze. If it's possible, I hope the relationship between me and Lily can grow into something more. Applause erupted. Cameras clicked frantically. Someone shouted, First Family of Crimson Moon, as photo captions lit up with the headline. The room was basked in celebration, until a sudden shout silenced everything. Check the trending feed. That helper, she might be dead. The room went still. Reporters stared at their phones. Murmurs grew. Brows furrowed. The beta walked quickly to Yates and handed him a phone. A video was playing. Yates stared confused. The footage showed the outside of the den, their den. A crowd of strangers blocked the narrow entryway. They were screaming, holding signs, and chanting insults. Jasmine stood at the door, cornered. They hurled rocks at her, buckets of red paint splattering across her body. She stumbled again and again, her clothes soaked, her skin bloodied. She pulled out her phone, desperate. Her mouth moved, silent in the video, but her face said everything: despair, fear, betrayal. Then a final rock hit her head. She staggered forward, eyes fluttering, and collapsed. Her head hit the ground hard. Blood pooled behind her skull, mixing with the red paint into a dark, spreading stain. In the middle of that crimson pool, I lay motionless, eyes slowly closing. Yelena screamed. Mother! Her voice pierced through the room. Cameras captured it all. Reporters froze, recording her cry. Every device in the room caught the moment, their earlier excitement now drowned in horror. Yates's hands trembled. The smile that had once played on his lips vanished. The image on screen burned into his mind. Jasmine lying in a pool of her own blood, betrayed, forgotten, and dying alone. The interview ended in chaos. Reporters had stopped asking questions the moment the video played. All eyes turned toward the screen showing my collapse, blood and paint swirling around her body like a crimson halo. Yates and Yelena rushed out of the office without a word. Lily remained behind, and the cameras instantly turned on her. Miss Lily, one reporter pressed. Alpha Yates seems to have deep feelings for this so-called helper. Do you still think you can take her place? Do you believe you can truly be a mother figure to Miss Yelena? Asked another. Yet another added sharply. The teen wolves in the video claim to be your fans. Did you instruct them to attack the Luna? A flicker of fury flashed in Lily's eyes, but she quickly plastered it with a gentle smile. I have nothing to do with this unfortunate incident, she said sweetly. I am just as worried as you are about Miss Yelena's helper. She put on a mask, turned, and strode out of the room with cool composure. Yates and Yelena arrived at the den to find only a dried, dark red pool in front of the entrance. The air was thick with silence. Yelena screamed, "Mom!" "No!" Yates stepped inside with a ghastly expression. The place was undisturbed. Everything was exactly where it had been. Except for one thing. I was gone. 2 pieces of paper lay neatly on the desk. One was a medical report from a healing center. The other, a divorce agreement. Yates stared at the document in disbelief. "You want to divorce me?" he murmured. Yelena frantically searched every room. "She's not here. Dad, is Mom dead?" "Don't say nonsense." Yates snapped, but his hands trembled. He had never felt so unsure. He immediately ordered a full inspection of all surveillance around the den. The team returned with grim news. All footage had been wiped. No data remained. Even the Werewolf Council had no death record for me. Then he saw the name of the healing center on my report. Without hesitation, they raced to the facility. But when they returned, Yates was pale and silent. "Dad," Yelena's voice was trembling. She was still suffering from silver poisoning. "You didn't trust her. You let them kill her." Her small fists beat against his chest. "You killed Mom." Yates couldn't argue. The truth suffocated him. His mind rewound, replaying her desperate voice on the phone, the way she had reached out to him one final time, and how he had ignored her. He collapsed against the wall, eyes glazed over with remorse. "Jasmine, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Lily arrived moments later, rushing toward him. "Yates, don't despair," she said quickly, taking his arm. "Maybe Jasmine is just pretending to be dead. Maybe she staged it all to take revenge on you." Yates turned toward her, fury blazing in his eyes. She was pretending yesterday, wasn't she? Pretending she was still sick from the silver poison. Enough. Yates shoved her hand off his arm. "Your fans killed Jasmine." "No," Lily shrieked. "She staged it herself. That wasn't my..." "Stop lying to me," he growled. "The she-wolf who struck Jasmine from behind. She's the lead role in your fan group." "I know her." Lily froze, stunned. He had never yelled at her before. Her eyes widened, her jaw clenched. "That doesn't mean anything," she muttered. "Dad, don't waste time on her." Yelena interrupted, grabbing his hand. "We need to find Mom. Now." Yates snapped back to reality. "You're right." He left Lily behind and ran out with Yelena at his side. Reporters caught sight of them again and swarmed in. Lily tried to follow but was blocked by the crowd. Frustrated and helpless, she stomped in anger, unable to reach them. Yates halted all Alpha duties and launched a full-scale search across Crimson Moon. He and Yelena combed every corner, every hiding place, every whisper of a clue. But I had vanished, like I'd evaporated into the wind. 1 month passed. Then came a news broadcast from Lupus Celestial Daily. The camera panned to Yates and Yelena at a press conference. "This is the last known video of a missing she-wolf," Yates told the audience, voice raw. "Her name is Jasmine." He paused, trying to hold himself together. "I want to believe she's alive. But if she's not," his voice broke. "I need to see her. Even if it's just her body." The reporter tilted her head. "But many say she was just a helper, someone who tried to steal status. Why do you insist on searching for her?" Yates' jaw tightened. He looked straight at the camera. "She is not just a helper. She is my bonded Luna, the one I loved more than anyone and the mother of my daughter." The news exploded across the internet. The hashtag #FindLunaJasmine trended for weeks. Sympathy surged. Public turned against Lily. Reporters dug deep and exposed the truth. Lily had orchestrated the attack. She had incited her fan group and guided them to assault Jasmine. Public outrage followed. The Crimson Moon Pack tried her in council. She was stripped of her honorary titles and exiled. She could no longer stay there. Her image shattered overnight. Then one day, even bigger news broke. The Lycan King himself made an official announcement. His heiress had completed her studies at the top werewolf academy, and would begin training to lead the alliance of packs. The nation buzzed. Her name? Jasmine. The face of the Lycan heiress looked eerily similar to the she-wolf from a Missing Ones posters. Only younger, more radiant, stronger. On a bright morning, I stood beside my father, the Lycan king, discussing interpack politics. After I was taken back to the clan, I received the care I had long denied. The head injury had caused part of the silver poison in my blood to bleed out, a twisted miracle. My wolf woke up again, and in 2 short months I was reborn. Stronger, clearer, fiercer than ever before. As I worked, a warrior approached me with a respectful bow. Alpha Jasmine, Alpha Yates has come to see you. I sighed. Let's end this once and for all. I stepped out of the estate's gates, and froze. Yates was kneeling on the stone path, his head bowed low, his fists clenched. The sound of his knees hitting the ground echoed like thunder in the clear morning air. Jasmine, I finally found you, Yates said, his voice hoarse. I can't tell you how relieved I am that you're still alive. He knelt on the stone steps, trembling. These past few weeks, I've searched every corner of the Pack Alliance. I haven't rested. Yelena refuses to go back to the academy. She cries day and night, even in her sleep. I know I was wrong. I should never have lied to you. I should have trusted you. I've uncovered the truth. Lily orchestrated everything. She manipulated her fans to attack you to force you into divorcing me. I'm begging for your forgiveness. 11 years ago, you saved me from silver poisoning. Now it's my turn to save you. He kept speaking, his apologies pouring out in waves, raw, tearful, seemingly sincere. But to me it all sounded the same. The same tone he used when he lay in bed pretending to be paralyzed. The same promises he made when he first begged me to stay. I stared down at him. My voice was cold. Yates, what will it be this time? Will you fake being paralyzed again? Pretend you're no longer Alpha? His face dropped, his expression stunned by my bitter calm. No. Jasmine, I swear I was a fool. I should never have lied. I regret everything. I swear I'll never deceive you again. I let out a humorless laugh. Oh, is that so? Just like when you promised to cherish me forever? When I was the one sucking silver poison from your wounds, and you swore you'd never let me cry afterwards. Yates looked away, unable to meet my gaze. When I said those things I meant them, he whispered. I was grateful, grateful? I repeated. The word curdled in my mouth. You meant it. Just like you meant it, when you pretended you couldn't walk? When you hid the truth about Yelena sensing her wolf and shifting at her will during full moons. I worked 5 jobs a day, slept 3 hours, ate 1 bread a day, so I could raise our daughter and keep our home afloat while you and Lily played house behind my back. His hands balled into fists. More passers-by had gathered now, overhearing every word. Yates looked uncomfortable, but still he spoke. Jasmine, I didn't mean to lie on purpose. You just thought I was too stubborn. That if I found out you were with Lily, I'd cause a scene. So you buried me in work, kept me exhausted, made sure I had no time or energy to find out the truth. You even abandoned the phone number you'd had for dozens of years, just so I couldn't reach you. I stepped forward, voice rising. When they discovered the silver was still in my blood, you said I was faking it. Faking pain. Yates, I'm not like you. I don't fake love. I don't lie to anyone I cherish just to control them. My voice broke on the last word. The anger had taken everything out of me. Yates looked stunned, lips parted, but no words came out. A heavy silence fell. Then a stone flew from the crowd and struck his arm. Someone shouted. What a joke. Pretending to be some affectionate alpha on live TV, while letting your Luna starve in labor. All day so you could cheat on her. Another stone hit him harder. He lay down on the ground, shielding his head. I'm sorry, Jasmine, I'm so sorry. I turned my face away, unwilling to see or hear more. At that moment my father arrived. His voice was grave as he addressed Yates. Years ago, I disapproved of your bond with my daughter. But she was stubborn, headstrong, drawn to you. When you proved yourself as alpha, I softened. I thought maybe she had chosen well. I even considered recognizing your bond publicly, had you continued building your pack in strength and honor. But you? You betrayed the one who saved you and gave you everything. He turned to me now, firm and unwavering. You have full authority to manage all member packs of the Alliance, including Crimson Moon. Lupus Celestial will not tolerate an alpha who abuses his Luna. I pulled out the divorce agreement, handed it to Yates, and walked away. Yates called out behind me, Jasmine, wait. Are you really going to leave it like this? Are you saying you'll never forgive me? I didn't look back. No, I wouldn't forgive him. I wouldn't make the same mistake with the same mate twice. He didn't know the full truth, that the head injury had actually flushed out much of the silver poison, that I'd been treated like royalty upon my return, that my wolf had returned stronger than ever. And I wouldn't tell him. I stepped through the gates of the estate. But behind me, footsteps came pounding in. A small voice cried. Out, breathless, desperate. Mom, I miss you. It was Yelena. After 2 months of separation, my once cherished daughter looked thinner, more fragile than I remembered. Her wide eyes welled with tears as she clung to my waist, but I gently pulled her away, crouching to meet her gaze. Isn't Lily your mother now? Yelena's lips trembled. She shook her head. Mom, I was wrong. I don't want Aunt Lily. I only want you to be my mom. She gave me gifts, but she never cooked for me. She never told me bedtime stories. I interrupted her softly. Yelena, don't remember I seldom had time to cook for you? I was too busy working. I held her shoulders and looked her in the eye. Do you remember lying to me? Telling me you and your dad only ate 1 bread for dinner? She flinched. I survived on 1 bread a day. What did you really eat, Yelena? Her small body shivered as the truth sank in. She turned suddenly and began kicking her father in anger. It's all your fault. You made me lie to Mom. Now she doesn't want me anymore. Yates didn't stop her. He stood there, unmoving, holding the divorce agreement in his hands as Yelena pummeled his legs. I walked to the elevator and turned once. Alpha Yates, I said coldly, sign the agreement within 2 working days. I'll send someone to collect it. And prepare yourself. You'll soon be removed as Alpha of Crimson Moon. You always wanted to be ordinary. Consider this your chance, perhaps as an Omega, or at best a warrior. In the following days, I buried myself in work. I reviewed Crimson Moon's structure, planned its dismantling, and oversaw its merging into nearby packs to stabilize Lupus Celestial's political balance. Yates was evicted from the Alpha Villa. His fall from grace was widely discussed online. One day, while we were analyzing pack territory, my beta brought up Lily. She's infamous now, he said. Her father, one of Crimson Moon's respected elders, disowned her after learning what she did to you. Her status plummeted, and her fans turned against her. She embezzled funds from Yates' accounts and fled. No one knows where she is. I blinked. She had access to his accounts? It said Yates trusted her completely. She knew all his passwords. I sat there for a moment, stunned. Then I laughed bitterly. 14 years. He chased me for 2. We dated for 2. Bonded for 10. And in all that time, I never even knew the passcode to his phone. So much for true love. It blew out like a candle in the wind. But I didn't dwell. My responsibilities waited. I worked harder than ever. My efforts were being noticed. When my beta suggested hiring a full-time helper to assist with my growing duties, I agreed. The morning of the interviews, a familiar name appeared on a resume. Yates. He sat across from me in an old, sagging suit, the fabric threadbare and worn. His wolf had clearly lost much of its strength since stepping down as Alpha. He spoke first. Jasmine, is everything okay with you? I didn't look up. I flipped through his resume. I'm looking for a full-time helper. You currently work 5 part-time jobs. I don't think you can meet the demands of this position. His hands twisted in his lap. Please. I need this job. Yelena still needs daily herbs to purge the silver in her blood. She wants to return to the academy, but we're not a charity. My tone was colder than I intended. You're not sick, paralyzed, or injured. You're still better off than most. My words made him shrink in his seat. After he stepped out, my beta leaned in. Last week he hurt his paw unloading freight and was fired. I didn't respond. I simply picked up the next resume. The next time I saw Yates, he was scavenging for scrap paper crates, working as a werewolf junk collector. I saw him fighting another for a stack of discarded crates. Beside him, Yelena stood in oversized clothes, hair unkempt, clinging to his coat like a shadow. A wind blew between us. Our eyes met again, his red-rimmed and hollow. Mine calm, distant, frosted over like winter glass. Months passed. My father, seeing my progress, introduced me to a promising alpha, someone he had long respected, a male who had quietly admired me for years. We bonded in a public ceremony, celebrated by the clan. Among the crowd, I saw Yates and Yelena watching from afar. But I didn't glance their way. Not even once. A wolf's redemption, a spin-off, Yelena's POV. Mom bonded with another alpha and no longer wanted me as her daughter. At first I blamed it all on Dad. But over time I came to understand, it was my fault too. I had been selfish, arrogant, and obsessed with appearances. While Mom toiled through sleepless nights and multiple jobs, I lived in comfort with Dad and his mistress. I accepted the gifts, the clothes, the luxuries, but I was too cowardly to admit the truth. Worse, I looked down on Mom. I was ashamed of how tired she looked, how plain her life seemed. I ignored the pain in her eyes when she asked for the truth, and I denied her the one thing she deserved, my honesty. When I realized she was truly gone, unreachable, I couldn't sleep for months. I searched for her through whispers, posts, rumors, any trace I could find. And when I learned she was still alive, I cried with both relief and heartbreak. Because even though she was alive, she didn't want me anymore. And I couldn't blame her. I had broken her heart. I had helped crush the one who had loved me unconditionally. I missed her so deeply that it hurt to breathe. I would remember her voice reading me stories at night, the smell of her cooking, the warmth of her arms, and then the memory would disappear like smoke. But I deserved this. I had fallen from the daughter of an alpha to the daughter of a junk collector. And in that fall, I finally lived the life she once lived. I knew hunger. I knew shame. I knew what it was like to be looked down upon, spat at, ignored. Some threw stones at us. Others cursed. We never argued. We took it. Quietly. For years after she bonded with her new mate, my father died. His wolf had decayed until there was nothing left. And in the final moments, all he could say was that he was sorry for everything he had done to her. When he passed, I was old enough to survive on my own. I joined one of the most grueling, unforgiving packs in the Alliance. A place where your blood meant nothing, only your strength, discipline, and endurance. I trained harder than anyone. I pushed my wolf until she burned from within. Because I didn't want pity. I didn't want forgiveness handed to me. I wanted to become the kind of she-wolf worthy of serving Lupus Celestial. Worthy of standing in the same alliance my mother once protected, and perhaps, if the moon ever allowed it, worthy of earning her forgiveness. So I trained. Every sunrise and every nightfall. I reminded myself, if the chance ever comes I won't let it slip away. Jasmine's POV. 6 years had passed since the day I walked away from Yates and Yelena. In that time, Lupus Celestial stabilized under the restructured packs. The alliance was thriving. I worked long hours every day, but I had found my rhythm again. My wolf, once weakened by silver and heartbreak, now burned with quiet strength. I had no regrets about severing ties with Yates. And Yelena, I had not seen her since my bonding ceremony. Until today. A report came in from the border post of the Northern Cliffs. A young she-wolf had collapsed there after traveling alone through dangerous rogue territory. She refused food. She carried no identification. The only name she gave was mine. I walked through the corridors of a healing center quietly, my beta behind me. The guard stood aside as I entered the room. Yelena was sitting upright in the bed, her arms scraped, hair unevenly cut, wrapped in a worn shawl. She looked up when she heard the door open. She didn't cry. She didn't reach for me. She bowed her head. Alpha Jasmine, thank you for seeing me. I didn't respond immediately. I watched her carefully, measuring the tone in her voice. The pride in her spine was still there, but it was no longer entitlement. It was discipline. You crossed rogue territory alone? I asked. Yes. I've been training with the Riverwatch pack for 2 years. That's an elite pack. They're not easy on new blood. I didn't expect them to be easy, she said quietly. They didn't know I was your daughter. I never told anyone. I earned my marks. I earned this rank. She reached into the side of her pocket and slid out a small token. The metal crest of Riverwatch, a symbol given only after a she-wolf passed 3 consecutive missions in hostile terrain. I held it in my hand. The edges were scratched, but it was real. Why did you come back now? I asked. Because I'm not here as your daughter. I'm here to make something right. She stood and bowed deeply. I was a foolish, selfish pup. I didn't understand what love meant. I only knew how to take it, not how to give it back. I lied to you about food, about Lily. About how I felt. I was scared that if I told the truth, everything would break. But it broke anyway. She finally looked up. Her eyes were no longer tearful, but clear, focused. I want to earn your respect. If you never call me daughter again, I'll accept that. But let me serve your clan. Let me protect what you built. Even if I have to do it in silence for the rest of my life. Silence lingered in the room. I studied her face, so much like mine now. You've grown, I said at last. You don't even look like the pup I once knew. I'm not, she whispered. But I still love you. I didn't move toward her. I simply nodded. Fine. You'll start as a scout. If your record holds, you'll move to guard duty. No one will treat you differently. No one will call you my kin. You'll rise or fall on your own merit. Her lip trembled just slightly. She nodded deeply. And Yelena, she looked up, startled to hear her name. You will report directly to me. Once a week. She blinked, surprised. As a scout? No, I said. As someone I'm willing to try to forgive. Slowly. Carefully. Her eyes shimmered. This time she didn't cry. She straightened her back and saluted. Thank you, Alpha. She left the room with quiet steps. As the door shut behind her, I looked down at the Riverwatch crest in my hand. My wolf stirred softly in my chest. She's learning, the wolf murmured. She's not perfect, but she's trying. And for the first time in years, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, my daughter might become the kind of wolf I could trust again.